You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Hey, welcome to Miranda's World.
Whoa.
We're here. It's Maranda, your host, and I'm here with the wonderful Chris Spangle.
That was very jazzy. I loved it.
Yeah, I was really feeling myself when I came busting into that intro.
I loved it. I feel so amped for this episode now. I'm so happy to be here.
I hope everyone's wearing their big girl panties and their adult diapers because we're in for a treat. We're going to talk about Farmer Tim.
Now, who's Farmer Tim?
Farmer Tim is one of my old customers, and he is a customer that I knew from the Hip Hugger in Kokomo, which is the most disgusting place ever. And so, if you can imagine, he's nasty.
Well, he's a farmer, so
farmers are cool though.
Hardworking dude.
Yeah, he's a hardworking dude, but he's just so ate up. He is probably about 55 to 60. And, he's been out, small town America, Indiana, farming it up.
Just planting and seeding.
Fuck yes. But it's really funny. He has just a different mentality of things because obviously of how his life is. And farming is one thing. Yeah, he is a hard worker and so forth and so on. But then it's like his ego has taken all of that just to another level.
Okay.
But the thing is, he is, he's not any better than anybody that he, chooses to surround himself with. He loves drama. Mm-hmm. It's real easy. He's an easy character. So the funniest thing, I guess, important to
tell me what he looks like. Paint a mental picture for us.
I'm going to start at the very beginning here, actually. I'm going to tell you just from go how I came to know him and my experiences. Okay. So I worked at the Hip Hugger in Kokomo. It is super gross there. But that was where I was introduced to dancing, and so is what I knew. And, I did the best I could to protect myself about, all the nastiness going on there. That whole nother show. But so the girls there, they are just the bottom of what you think of strippers. Super, super into drugs, super duper, just never had any great quality of life, never really, had anything good in their life at all, or good people really. Or just hung out to dry, to be honest, these people. So these girls, again, they've never really known nice things. So it's just kind of a weird thing. So, I'd been there for probably 6 months or so, and everybody it was just all of a sudden, a certain time of year. And it was probably, I think, probably Christmas. I was right before Christmas time. So everybody was just like, oh yeah, Farmer Tim. You don't know Farmer Tim? And I was just like, no, I don't. Like,
right.
No. And so, everybody would talk about he just buys presents for the girls and this and that. And, he's a lot of money. He doesn't do dances really, but, he'll buy you stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. So I meet Farmer Tim. He comes in and because he would, right before Christmas, he would buy gifts like, Yankee candles, things like that, tax write-offs. For real.
Really?
We're going to get there.
Okay.
Good God. It's a very intricate story. So, and I'm just like, I like Yankee candles. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm not, again, I'm all about like how much work am I putting in for what I'm getting, so forth, so on. Okay, I'm like, cool. So now I just know enough, like, okay, the guy has money, this and that. I still haven't met him. Then somebody finally introduces me to him. Oh, stop. Not yet. I hadn't met him yet. Then this girl, she's just one of if you could imagine the princess of the trailer park, it's this girl.
Okay, yeah.
And so she, of course, has a baby daddy who's in the club with her every night. Who knows? I mean, I've heard all kinds of stories about the schemes that girl was working. About them, I guess, would get people to hotels or whatever, and then her boyfriend come in and just rock.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And so they're real scandalous, just poor druggies, a lot of Vicodin and stuff. This was right at the Vicodin turnabout. I saw the drug revolution kind of go around, it was real crazy because, again, that bar just is the cesspool of all of it.
It's for our national listeners, it's in East Central Indiana, and it used to be a very big.
It was a car town.
And then there's not much there. And by the time you were dancing there, I mean, back in the 80s, this was a world famous club. But now,
they didn't clean it since then. I swear to God.
Right.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
It smells just disgusting, and it's real dirty. The girls are dirty. The things they do are dirty. And, I fought against those things, and I made my money, and, but again, I didn't make much, and you know what I mean? I was gone long hours, and it was really a shitty thing. I mean, I was really happy when I got fired for being mean to drug addict girls there. Because then I found, you know what I mean? Like, oh, wow, there's so much more going on in this industry. And so... instead of watching these disgusting druggies prostitute themselves for $10 a song.
Right.
Like getting finger banged and God knows what else. So, I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. This girl, I mean, she's just the mouth of the South, I'll tell you. And I swear this girl, blonde hair, extensions, like, you know what I mean? Poor, like maybe a ponytail one or something like that. Just like... real tight, like kind of strong jawline, short, saggy pancake, small boobs. Nothing, you know what I mean? Fake press on, probably not press on, but long fake fingernails. Right. Always wearing the bright colors and stuff. So, no class, just don't even try. And this girl had come back and she was driving, like a Denali, decent truck and this and that, and was like, oh yeah, I got this house, blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously she's never had anything. So it's like, she was clearly, she had like a bunch of Victoria's Secret stuff and this and that. And she was like, oh yeah, I've gotten, I don't know, she probably said maybe like $45,000 out of Farmer Tim.
Oh, wow.
Now see, Farmer Tim he does things in a schedule because he is a farmer. So it's like, he'll be around, and that would be like in the spring. He's kind of around as they're getting things going. Then he gets real busy and he's not around through the summer, and then come fall, he is around again. Then he takes off right after Christmas and he goes to Florida, and then he comes back for spring, starts it all over. So he was on his way back. This is now after Christmas, and so she's like going around saying this and that, and so. She's going around and kind of getting, I guess, kind of laying it down the groundwork because she knows he's going to be coming home.
Right.
And he is going to be talking some shit. Now, of course, she's trash. So it's like, okay, everything he's saying is probably very much true. So he comes back to town and he's like, oh, God, she's a lying ass, thieving ass, whatever. And he's like, she didn't get that much money from me, but she did get a lot and blah, blah, blah. He was sending her money from Florida.
So did you ask him, like, have you really given her, like, how'd you find out that how'd he find out, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, because a lot of the girls there, he did cocaine with them and stuff. So they all have his phone number. And so, I mean, they all have the drama too. And so it's like they couldn't tell him fast enough the shit she was saying, I'm sure. So he knew what she was saying. And so, he meets me and then, you know what I mean? He's so drama. So ever since I meet him, this is me just like listening to him bitch. Because again, I'm good at reading people and I kind of know what's going on. So it's like, I listen to him bitch or whatever about Kendra. And, Shanks, just saying. And
allegedly.
I mean, I kind of would like for these people to hear it. So anyway, or whatever. Don't tell them. I'm scared. So he tells, or, whatever. He's telling me the whole thing. He wants to bitch about it. And he's just like, yeah, that Kendra. Now, he's not just telling me, he's telling anybody that will listen. He's already got a new girl, by the way. He's already got a new girl that he's now taking care of, whatnot. So, and her name is Amy, and she is a druggie too, and she was now on the brink of just going downhill fast. So the Kinder girl, I guess, was lying. Now he's saying, and I believe what he's saying he sent her money for sure from Florida. She was telling him that she couldn't work and stuff because her one of her boys was sick with like cancer or something. So she's like making up stories involving her kids being sick and stuff, and that's how she got the money.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like,
that's a level of crazy that's really something.
Yeah, and because at first I'm thinking, oh no, she probably just was fucking this dude, but then it's like come about and it's like, okay, no, it all happened when he was in Florida, and it's this and that. So she was probably on the block of being next. Okay, he left for Florida, and then she just pushed him milked it for all she could.
Right.
And so now he comes back, and now it's Amy, and now her sister Amber is a vet. Has worked there forever. Amy's young though. Kendra was younger. So Amy, they're again all in the Vicodin crew, and so these people, when I first started working there, they would be taking like a handful of Vicodin, like 8 of them at a time. Like some of them they would chew, some of them like they, you know what I mean? Sometimes they would sniff some, take some. Like they were taking so many that they were trying to figure out different ways of taking it to get what they needed. Yeah, I mean, it was bad. And then it's like I saw the whole thing progress from that into like, okay, well, you know, because they were having such a hard time taking that many pills. It's like, oh, cool, look what I've got. This is an OxyContin, blah, blah, blah. So then they're taking less. Then there was something called a RoxyContin. And that was when they became the Walking Dead. They literally, I would sell them the clothes that my daughter had outgrown. Of course, she was in like, you know, 5th grade at that time. Like,
they were wearing 5th grade clothes, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they were wearing the clothes my daughter couldn't wear anymore.
Holy cow. What is a RoxyContin?
It is, I guess, like an OxyContin, but stronger. It's like synthetic heroin, and like in the most like pure form or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the strongest. Like they say the same thing about like, you know, morphine and stuff like that. But like this blows it out of the water.
Wow.
And I believe it because these girls, we would call them nodders, and they would literally be on stage like, hanging onto the pole. And I swear it was like so weird. It was like their mouth would be open catching flies. But their butt would just still be going.
Oh, wow.
And they would be given dances like that. So who knows what was happening to them? They wouldn't even know. And these girls were just real bad. And so Amy, like these girls they were on the brink of that at this time. They hadn't made it there yet. Mm-hmm. This is the time of like transition. So, you know, again, it's like what's available to them. So, you know, the whole time I already know that the thing with, you know, Farmer Tim, okay? He's going through these girls. He had a day shift girl and he had Amy. Now, he bought Amy a brand new car. It was a Cobalt, but of course it was in his name.
Right.
She was driving it and everything. And he, you know, he would say, oh yeah, you know, she's, you know, paying me for that car, blah, blah, blah. Or going to.
This is just, it's the amount of money that the people that you interact with waste is so hard for me to like understand.
Right. But see, that's just it. I mean, Farmer Tim thinks he's got it figured out. He doesn't mind doing this because most of this stuff is tax write-offs for him, for one. And for two, you know, it keeps him from having to, you know, try to get a real, you know, build a real relationship.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially out there in the middle of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. He's always grown up probably partying with these girls from the Hugger, da-da-da-da. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, I can already tell, of course, what's going on by who he's hanging out with, right? You know, see, ever since I was introduced to him, I seriously, Chris Hansen, his ass, just like I did the rest. He was one of the first. I mean, I just sat in the corner and I already knew what was going on and I knew who he was dealing with. And I could have told on them for their, like Amy, I mean, she had a boyfriend, of course. But I mean, for the first time in her life, I mean, these people, you know, they have never had anything. So it's like, for the first time, she's had her nails done and she's got everything she wants. And, you know, they probably gave her sister Amber's kid like a good Christmas for once in that kid's life.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean? So like for once they actually have something in their lives. But they also now have drugs out the wazoo.
Right.
So, Whopper. But
are you eating?
I know. I tried to sneak it in my mouth, and I got caught.
She's got a Whopper in her mouth, ladies and gentlemen.
I snuck it, and I got caught. But so on one end, this is like the high point for them, but this is also now the down point. So, could I have said, you know, Tim, have you not, like, you know what I mean? I could have been very logical, and he would have understood. I'm not just talking shit, and he would have put it together. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Tim, you know, she definitely has a boyfriend. Bum, 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 bum. Or, you know what I mean? She's said this, you know what I mean? I could have said things to try to start shit between them, but I didn't have to because I knew that was going to blow up.
Right.
It always does. So I just thought to myself.
People like that kind of want it too, though.
Well, that's just it. It's not a real relationship, so it's going to burn out, you know? They're going to crash and burn.
Right. Like you and I, we're fucked up, but, and we love drama, but there's a level above us where it's just like,
oh, because we're also really, real people.
Yeah, you really love that. Yeah, exactly.
They're not real people. They're dealing with La La Land bullshit.
Right.
Like, they're just on another level of understanding, whereas we actually do get it, and we like the pettiness, and we like the wit and the stuff that it brings out in us. But it's like, this is a whole nother level. So again, I saw it for what it was, and so I positioned myself just to be there, in the background. So again, no effort really on my part, very minimal effort, but that way I knew that thing would, crash and burn. They both, between the two of them, it would happen. And then I just wanted to be there, to be around, to be next, and be that, that girl. Like the whole time, he would remember, oh, well, she's always been so, level-headed and da-da-da-da. So then, again, he would smoke weed and stuff. So it's like, I might stop by his farm on my way out there, and I would drop off a little smoky treat. Okay. Like he would ask me, hey, if you're on your way to work, can you mind, and I would.
Was that beef jerky? Did you just eat another Whopper?
I'm going to suck on it.
Suck on that Whopper.
It was in my hand. It was melting. So I would just, again, it's very, very little effort on my part, because he was giving me money for the smoky treat. He was, which, it was nothing that I can discuss on this podcast. No, I don't care. I mean, the bottom line is, yeah, it was weed, and, whatever. I would sell him a little bit out of my weed. And so I'd drop it off on my way to work. He would give me a lot of money for it. He paid me way more than it was worth. And then he gave me money, for bringing it.
Wow.
And so, yeah, just these people always will make a reason to be around. And, when you're a dancer, it's easy. It's money is the easy answer. And it's not weird that they'll give you money for shit. So
sure, it
creates a good dynamic. And so I was like, hell yeah, that would pay for my weed too. I'm like, cool. So, and again, he was doing coke and a lot of partying, and I was not a part of any of that. And it was just nice. Like I would drop that off, and then, whatever he did later with those other girls, they did their thing. And I was reaping some of the benefits, probably more than they were, of that the whole scenario. And then later down the line, I totally would. Because again, the whole time I was setting the whole thing up. Just always having been around. And then I'd have to listen to him. He would text me the next day and bitch and complain about Amy, Amber, whoever, Kendra, the day shift girl that he dealt with and got coke from. Just all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Just whining bitch. I was busy. I would just pick, literally, he's so full of himself. He would send me paragraph and paragraph and paragraph. And I would just be like, I can't believe that. Or, you know what I mean? Just
you'd one word him back. Yeah.
Whatever to appease him. Like,
right.
Yeah, I can't believe that. You're right. And then...
Is this like an old guy? I mean, what does he look like? Okay,
so he was about 55 to 60. He didn't look like, necessarily super old, but you could tell he's older. He was he's like a very, tall, big kind of country man.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very strong fucking chin. Cleft chin, strong jaw. I mean, like, it looked like it was fake. It was like, he looked like a caricature of like, I can't think of what that, oh my gosh, it was like Fairly Odd Parents or something. And it was like, there was a guy with a cleft chin.
Yeah.
Dude, his chin was like a character in itself.
Hilarious.
And, oh God, yeah. But it's like, he drank a lot of alcohol because, he lived on a farm. The farm used to be like the general store of that town fucking 100 years ago. And, his parents, like it's just they're all like right out there. So that's up by Kokomo, Indiana.
So he's land rich. That's how he got his money. They owned the land, which... That was very expensive land. And
they farm and there's subsidiaries and all of that go in with farming. Mm-hmm. And, they know how to work it. It's obviously been a family business, so he knows how to work it. And, he has worked hard. He's a hard worker. You know what I mean? It's like he was still working hard then. He did work hard. You couldn't take that away from him. And so... But he had it down. I mean, he was just a good old boy, partying it up, blah, 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 blah.
So you're listening to him complain.
I just would listen to him, but I really wouldn't even read it all. You know what I mean? Because he was time to keep up with that. So I was just like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then that was just enough to appease him. And he just always just, he just loved to find out like what I was doing, picking my daughter up, because back then I didn't do shit anyway. I had no like social life really at all. And so, it was just like, yeah, he was just always like, blah, blah, blah. Well, I had a Malibu at the time, and I just was like wanting a new car and this and that. And so, I don't know, that's kind of coming up. And so, finally, here comes a really high pivot in the story where it's going to get pretty fucking spiky and interesting for a second. As I had positioned myself the whole time, I just listened to him bitch. I would smoke some weed with him real quick on my way to work, drop it off, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's just, that's all I'm doing. Now, I know, of course, all these other people, and like, again, Amy, her boyfriend, these are real fucking crazy ass people on crazy ass drugs. Now, the drug thing has now come about to where they are on Roxy's and shit, fucking nodding off. Amy would constantly be back there. We would sit around and laugh, and watch her. There would be a whole group of us by, the end of probably a 10-minute span of standing there. She would be passing out in the middle of smoking a cigarette. So that would be like her hand would kind of be midair, and it's like she'd be asleep in the face, and then it's just like her arm would slowly drop, and then she'd be wearing a stripper outfit sitting on a stool. So it's like eventually her hand would come, and it's like we just watch like how close is that cigarette gonna come?
No.
We would. I mean, there's been times when you would wake people up and shit, but it's like one time somebody came in when we were doing that, and they were just like, they were appalled that we would stand there and watch. They were like, Amy, you're gonna burn yourself. She woke up, snapped out of it, and she was like, don't you tell me. Like, she's like, you don't tell me when I'm about to burn myself.
Oh, God.
God, I swear.
Yeah, because when you're on opiates, you nod off. You fall asleep.
Dude, yeah. And so, I mean, it was like, we would watch, and she would just do it over. Like, she would get to where it's like, burning. She was like, it would get real hot. It'd have to be hot, or at least putting a burn on her. And then she'd like wake up. But it was like, sit there for a second, and then right back into it. And then one time she did it with hairspray. We watched her fall asleep and wake up 20 different times after the can was done emptied.
Oh my God.
And she would just sit there and spray this empty can for like however long, and then pass back out. And I mean, the people that own the club, they didn't do anything. These girls, there was a lot of them walking around doing that. So you can imagine what working with them was like.
I can't imagine as a business owner that you let that go. You know what I mean?
No, he likes it because he wants people to come there. Those girls, you know what I mean, do something. They do something for nothing.
Right.
And it keeps customers in there. And it's a cash run business. He doesn't accept credit cards. He doesn't, it's like, okay. He's worried about, and he's like 90, the fucking owner is. So it's like, he's just trying to get as much money in as he can. He doesn't give a fuck. And he never obviously has. That club, the reputation it had has always been built off of the fact that you could get away with a lot of shit there.
Right.
And that's because they let them get away with a lot of drugs there. It all leads, into the same. And so here we go. This has been going on for however many months. And, boiling up with Amy, her boyfriend, Amber, all of the whole crew there. And I don't really know what happened. My guess is this. This is speculation on my part because I don't know. So, based on his experience with the day shift girl that he had, when that went south, he had been paying her rent with checks from the farm. So when that went south, he was like, you need to start paying me back for that. And she, who knows what her response really was, or who knows what the agreement was between them. And I know that I'm pretty sure they were having sex and doing, getting coke, doing coke, whatever. Now this girl, again, just at the bottom of everything. And so, when he, threatens to take her to court, he's like, basically, I'm going to take you to court, blah, blah, blah. So he does take her to court to sue her for the money. And she doesn't go to court. He wins by default.
Right.
Okay.
What's he going to take?
Well, so now she has to start making payments for whatever the amount was. So, okay, fine. Now, then he's still dealing with Amy, of course. Now, Amy, again, they're doing the harder drugs together with him. So, my guess is that she was sleeping with him also.
Sure.
Now, did she have to be? no, because when we get to the story where it comes to be like I'm getting stuff from him, I can tell you right now, I got a ton of stuff. Then we'll get to it, and I never even did anything with him, not one thing. And so, who knows? Did she or did she not? But she wasn't smart enough to work him the way I did. So I don't know, what her angle would have been to not be, sleep. Because again, these girls are so stupid. When somebody does something for them, they think like, if I sleep with them, I'll really have him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because their ego is so inflated. And so,
like, this pussy's the best pussy.
Right. Oh, he wants this so bad. Right. And so, whatever shit she was fucking cooking up, her boyfriend obviously knew about Tim and her getting money. Now, I don't know how much he knew, but I'm guessing he found out about how far things were going. Mm-hmm. And again, given the drugs and everything and just whatever, he ends up blowing his head off.
Oh, jeez. Mm-hmm. I know, well, at least we had a happy ending to the story.
Yeah, right?
Oh, God.
And so that blows up in Amy's face with Tim, because now it happened in her apartment that he probably had helped her get.
No,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And so then he's like, well, she's not paying on the car and stuff. He takes the car back. And then it's like, okay, the unraveling. Then those girls, it got so bad in there. It was like I would watch girls come in and just, if they didn't have their drugs, whether it be because of money or lack of resource of finding it, they would just be like throwing up. They'd be on the floor sick. Mm-hmm. And they would still come there because that was like their chance of getting it,
Right, yeah.
And it's so weird. And so, a lot of it was coming to a head with just, the drug problem altogether, the epidemic kind of coming around. And so it started becoming a little bit harder to get what they wanted. And so then I saw Amy and her sister Amber come into the locker room with heroin.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
I had never really seen heroin before in person, but I knew that's what it was because of one of my favorite movies was Gia with Angelina Jolie.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm like, foil. The foil was what gave it away. And I'm like, okay, I don't even care what's in that package, but I've never seen Coke in a foil. I've never done Coke. But I have been around people that have. And so I just know you've never seen that. Like, that's heroin. So they ended up
it was explain the foil for those of us who haven't.
It was just like wrapped up. I mean, it was like if you had taken, like, say you took like a bag, like, okay, say you took a small, tiny, like, I don't know,
baking soda.
Like a thing of baking soda, but I mean, just like a tiny, whatever, the tiniest little measuring spoon or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. A teaspoon. Just dump it into the bag. Well, if you dumped it into a plastic bag and put it in the corner and then tied it off, then took, an appropriate size square of aluminum foil and just kind of wrapped it around that and just kind of, made it a ball. Mm-hmm. That was it was just separate packaging. And I don't know why they put it in the foil. Maybe they cook it on.
They cook it on the foil, I bet.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, maybe it's a 2-in-1. I don't really. And so, but I've always seen it that way on movies that people would have it on a foil. And so I saw them with that foil and stuff, and I just finished up my business in the locker and just got out of there because I was just like, okay, this is even a new low for this place because it just, you know what I mean? Now I've seen somebody doing heroin.
Right, yeah.
And so it was just, I don't know, it was bad. So they ended up getting fired. Now Tim's not talking to them anymore anyway. I mean, that all unraveled. So now Tim's talking to me. And again, I had positioned myself just to be there because I wasn't trying to push anything. I didn't try to butt in. I knew that when the time had come, because I could just tell, like, that's how he worked. He does what he wants to do. It's like he's, he likes to be in control or whatever. And, he thinks he gets what's going on. So he wants to call the shots.
Right.
And so I just already knew it would just be me spinning my wheels, because he wasn't going to come around until he was ready. Mm-hmm. But then he was ready, and he would take me shopping. He would, just take me to dinner. We would always go to dinner, and then we would go shopping. And he wouldn't necessarily give me money at that point at the beginning, like to go do that stuff. You know what I mean? But we would go have a really nice dinner, and then I would go to Victoria's Secret and whatever I wanted.
Sure.
And then I would always have him. See, he was used to dealing with those girls that had never had anything.
Sure.
Oh my God. I mean, we would go to the Hallmark store and I would just buy everything. I buy Yankee candles out the wazoo. I had so many Yankee candles. Oh my God. I can't tell you. I had the candles and the things that go on top and the lighters and the scissors. And I still have most of it. I don't have the candles anymore, but, I can't tell you how many, I would say over the couple of, I think I probably dealt with him over about 3-year span because again, it's so spaced out. It's perfect because it never gets to be too much where it's like things have to develop or they're going to get shitty because there's always that big gap that comes right back in. And so, we would buy so many candles. I would buy so many like decorative, seasonal things for my house. I would just usually, cause I would go crazy with the stuff that was on sale.
You're glowing right now.
Oh God. Yeah. I would have so much fun in that Hallmark store. I bought whatever I wanted. And of course, again, those girls didn't know anything. So I would have them go to the fashion mall and then I would go to BB when it was there and buy dresses and just all kinds of bullshit.
So are you, how long did you work at the Hip Hugger?
I only worked there for about a year, maybe less.
Okay. But so you saw him after that.
Yeah. Well, so here's the funny thing. So I had just started dealing with him. And at this point,
And your end goal always was to get him to give you money or buy you stuff, right?
Oh, well, yeah. That's what he did. I mean, he would have a girl and that he would take care of that girl. Like he would take them shopping. Amy, nails, bam, boom, bomb. Sure. So I'm like, I'm very opportunistic. I like these girls are trash. If they can, I'm like, I need in on that. Mm-hmm. So when it was my turn, trust me, I was like, yeah, let me introduce you to some new things, Tim. So this is called the Fashion Mall. And so again, I mean, the first year it was, it was a lot of money, but it wasn't, as crazy. Oh, also, so I was wanting my Malibu. I wanted to get a new car. And so because he had bought Kendra that car and stuff like that, I'm just like, I want a car.
Right.
So I was just like, yeah, I want to get a new car, blah, 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 but I can't. I didn't have any credit at that time. This was before I had, ever gotten my first credit card or anything. So I had no credit whatsoever. And, it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So he takes me to his friend's lot up in Fowler, Indiana, which, again, for what we got and the pricing and everything, again, it wasn't anything. We could have not had to go all the way there, but that's neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I feel like when you know someone in the car industry like that or any business, when somebody says, oh, I know someone, that person is already expecting that because they know someone also that you're now like, well, my friend, so you're going to give me a lot more money.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got you on the line. You're definitely buying or, so I never feel like that is ever in your best interest. So this guy, I mean, I got my Explorer. I called him Chuck Norris. He was a bad motherfucker. He was an Eddie Bauer edition. Heated seats, sunroof, everything I want. And so I'd wanted an SUV. I get car sick in cars. I have to be above everything and like be able to see. It's about like obstruction of vision and stuff for me. So. Right. And I also hit a lot of curbs and stuff. And I want to keep going. Curbs and small children. Oh, God. Yeah. I break wheel bearings. Oh, my gosh. I take turns really fast, too. And with it being an SUV, I went through a lot of wheel bearings and things
rolled?
like that. No, I've never rolled. I'm a fucking maverick driver. I've never rolled. I broke a drive shaft clean off of my Jeep while driving down the highway.
That's amazing. How the fuck did you do that?
Right? And then after, I was just like, wow, what happened? Like, it sounded like a semi-tire blowout. So I pull over. I like let the cars around me get around. I get over, get to the shoulder, pull over, get out. I'm like, no, all my tires are good. I go to get in the car, put it in drive, won't go anywhere. I'm like, well, that's weird. Help comes and they're like, well, you don't have a drive shaft anymore.
Oh my God.
Like, oh wow, I felt something kind of thud under my feet. Yeah, the knuckle, it broke clean off at the knuckle all the way to the back differential.
That's amazing.
I know. I'm like, how did I get it pulled over?
How did you do it?
I know. Jesus was taking the wheel. I swear. My relationship with God is what it is, and I will tell you, as offensive as I am to so many people, it's like I have a relationship with God and Jesus Christ, and I don't I don't think they're mad at me because they have actually, it's by the grace of God that I have made it this far in my life, period. So I'm just like, you know what? I must not be too bad.
Yeah. Ditto.
Yeah. I'm like,
You're a stripper with a heart of gold.
Yeah. But I'm like, you know what? God gave me the opportunity to be a stripper and be able to take care of myself. I swear. I mean, and to not be poor and like, and the bad, situations I was in, like these girls. I mean, literally these lifestyles that they're living. And that was where I guess I had a strange, I don't know what to say, feeling about the whole thing of just kind of observing all the people around me. Or I thought I could have been those girls, I mean, I didn't, they didn't really have anything that I had growing up or vice versa. So it's like, we could have very much been the same, but I can't even say it's about lack of education because I'm not actually formally educated in any sense.
It comes down to choice. I mean, you make different choices.
Yeah. It's like,
and so what made you make different choices?
Their drive, I guess. Maybe they just don't have the same kind of drive I have. Or, just, I don't know. But it's like...
It's your high tea.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? And that's just it. I mean, I do have high tea and I have things that make me special, but there really isn't anything so special about me that I can move mountains and do things that other people cannot do. And so that's why I'm just kind of like, God has definitely had a part in that because I couldn't explain it any other way, But, I don't know how we even got, but.
So Farmer Tim is buying you stuff now. You want a car.
Yeah, so I want a car, so I get a car.
Jeep, yeah.
Now it was the Jeep though, it was Chuck Norris, the Explorer.
Okay, got it.
And so, Tim would never, see, here's the thing, when I bought the car, I was like, Tim, let's put this in writing. I'm like, the payments each month, just get it all in writing. We'll sign it, notarize, whatever. Like make this, because I am an upfront, very honest person. I wanted the car, but at the same time, I wasn't willing to be dishonest and do things in order to get it.
Sure, absolutely.
Same with like my job today. It's like I want things, but I only will do them and receive them in a certain way. So it's like, the whole thing. Okay, fine. He's like, no, if I felt like we had to do that, then I wouldn't even be doing this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Well, he wouldn't take my money. Okay. The day after I got that car, and don't think this obviously is pure coincidence because it's not. I go into work at the Hip Hugger and I'm fired. Now, isn't that coincidental? Now, you will when you start as we dig deeper into Tim and how he eventually tried to start manipulating things a little bit. It's like when they didn't start panning out the way he had hoped, naturally. It's like, he's been going in that bar for a long time. He knows the owners and so forth. I had been trolling cunts in that place the whole time I was there. So, I mean, I really don't know. It was very shocking to me that I came in and got fired that day. Now, had I had disagreements with the owner? Yeah. I mean, that's not a secret, and I obviously was loud and annoying about how I felt about everything. And I also would scream, "Pop your pussy," a lot. And I guess that got on his nerves. But I'm like, it's very strange that I would happen to get fired that time because, see, that's how Tim works, is that Tim is so simple that he thinks that he can control situations by creating situations because these dancer girls, they're not as smart as him. He had parents that taught him, raised him to be a hard worker. And, we're not. So he's definitely smarter than us. And so, he would love to have kept me, just like, oh gosh, now I don't, you know what I mean? What am I going to do now?
Now I have no job. I need,
So what do I do?
I need a sugar daddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So what do? I go and get another fucking job.
Right.
I replace the job I got with a job where I work half the time and make twice as much.
Right.
So I was winning in every sense. Tim would come down every so often, and even put more space between us because he lives all the way up there. Some days I would drive up to the farm, and he would fill up my tank with gas because he had a gas thing, and we would just smoke pot, and I would take him some pot and make a day of it. And then I'm like, okay, I got to go home, get my kid from the bus, and da 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 da. And so it created nice barriers, having things I had to do at certain times. And so it was great. Well, he would come down. Sometimes he would just come down and give me $400 to stay home from work. We would go have a dinner at Ocean Prime. And we would go buy earrings from Distinctive Diamonds. And,
jeez.
Yeah. And whatever. I mean, just whatever I wanted. And then, again, okay, blah, 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 time to go. And he, never got weird at first because he was trying to create the situation conducive to what he wanted. He wanted to be in control, and he wanted me to want to, try to have a relationship with him or just whatever. And so, and also I was just a lot unlike any of the women he's used to dealing with. And so I, had no intention of any of that. I just was like, hey, what can I, getting what I could from the guy. So this goes on for a couple of years. Well, then the last year that I dealt with him, I could sense it was coming to an end, which is fine. And, he went off to Florida. So, actually, let's backtrack because I'm going to tell a story that will, I guess, verify some of what I'm saying with him trying to keep me indebted to him. Mm-hmm. So, now, mind you, I've got Chuck Norris, and I've had Chuck Norris for however long now. He wouldn't take payments. He would never take my payments for Chuck Norris. Mm-hmm. So the only time I ever got to give him a payment was when he was in Florida. So maybe 2 years of being in Florida, did he ever receive payments? And I would send him 2 payments at a time. I think it was $300 a month is what we had discussed. Mm-hmm. And so I would send him a check for $600, and then maybe the next one would only be the 3. But the only time I ever paid for the truck was when he was in Florida. He wouldn't take my money any other time.
Weird.
But it would almost be very weird, right? Wouldn't it be? It would kind of be it would seem silly, I guess, for me to hand him money and then for him to turn around and hand me money.
Yeah.
Because, he was still giving me money. But then he did start coming into the brass and doing brass rooms, and he would never do dances ever before. But it did evolve to where he wasn't getting anything out of me. So then he was getting, you know what I mean?
Right.
He was getting some things out of me, just that affection of me dancing on him and whatever.
Sure.
And the privacy of, not being at the hip hugger on the wall in front of everyone. And so, it's dark in there and stuff. I'm sure he probably felt like it was, cozy. And, whatever. He probably, liked to make it out to be more or whatever, pretend in his mind what it was, whatever. And so, so anyway, he would come down there. He would give me the money. He would never take money for the Chuck Norris. And then I will come to a point where I broke the wheel bearings and stuff off of my Chuck Norris, and I drove it until it locked up in the knuckle completely. And it was in the shop. So he picked me up from wherever, and on the way back to my house, where he's going to drop me off, he stops at the car lot by my house, Fritz and Fisher's, and he's like, oh, let's just look around. And I'm like, Tim, what? I was annoyed because I'm already dealing with all the shit from my car, and I'm I'm going to have to pay for this. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't signing up to pay for it yet, and I wasn't, you know what I mean? Again, he would only do it if he wants to. Sure. You're not going to, you know what I mean? You can't bamboozle him. So I just wasn't even going to ask him. I know if he wants to, he'll tell me, and he is taking care of it. And so I'm just stressed out and stuff, and he stops there, and I'm just like, Tim, I don't want to buy a fucking new car. I haven't even paid the car I got off. And, I don't know how I'm going to pay for the repair. So, no, I don't want to. And he's trying to get me to test drive a fucking Mercedes, a little Mercedes. I'm like, Tim, first of all, I don't fucking want a white Mercedes car. I want an SUV. I want the one I have. And how about you just, in my mind, I'm thinking, at the time, because my brain's going so many places, I'm like, what a dick. I'm like, why don't you just tell me you're good with what you owe me?
Sure.
And then I wouldn't worry about I still owe money on this car, blah, blah, blah. You're just trying to help me get another car? I'm like, what an asshole. That doesn't help me. Well, no, he wanted to keep me indebted to him.
Yeah. It makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
Especially at a Mercedes level. That's another 5 years, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. And that's a lot more money where now he can be a little bit pushier because, you know what I mean? It's when I say pushier, he'd be pushier about probably just making comments about how much I owe him, trying to make me feel some type of way to where I will react. And so I'm just like, nah. And then it gets to be that last, I guess the last season that I was, dealing with him. And so he was just being a shit. Like, he lied. So he goes to Florida, and then we hadn't really heard from him. And my girlfriend, Tina, you know, she'd known him for a long time. He'd never really been her customer type or whatever, but he's known her forever. He thinks she's a sweetheart, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so we hadn't heard from him, blah, blah, blah. Then we find out he's been in the hospital. You know, he tells us like, oh, I had a heart attack. I've been in the hospital and stuff. Now, again, he's a big guy, the cocaine. Oh, I believe it. But so we were genuinely like, oh man, you know, concerned. So we were going to send him a little something or another. So we call the hospital and dude, he's not there. And it's not like one of those situations where they just don't tell information. No, they were more than helpful. Like, can it be under this? Can it be under that? Dun, dun, dun. I mean, no, he wasn't there.
Is Farmer Tim in the hospital?
Yeah. Got a Farmer Tim in there. But so it's so weird. I'm like, Tina and I, we're talking over the phone. She lives up in Gas City. I live in Fishers. I'm like, Tina, that's so weird. Like, what's going on? She's like, I know, right? I'm like, weird as fuck. Okay. Well, he got a little bit more weird from there on out. Okay. And again, he was just coming to a spiraling out of coming to a point of being pissed off and not getting what he wanted. This is now a 3-year investment. And so, you know, and the whole time I was dating a guy, of course it was just that guy I dated. It wasn't a real relationship. Right. So I'm like, well, I guess maybe he wouldn't have been able to tell. But I mean, like the whole time, I mean, I've never invested anything in this dude. I've never, you know what I mean? I had a guy I was dating off and on the whole time.
Right.
He's not smart. It wouldn't have been hard to figure out any of it.
Right.
And so, you know, he finally kind of gets to a point though. So then I was at work. I was talking to him. It was like I knew he should be coming back sometime soon, but I didn't think he was back because he would always tell me, like, I'll be back, you know, on Friday. And then Friday, like, I'm home, you know, let's go to dinner. Da, 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 da. And so I was like calling him. I'm like, you know, oh, I'm, you know, poor. I need money for my rent, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he's just like, oh, well, I'm actually in town, but I don't have any money. Because of something to do with, you know, he had 2 twin boys that had dropped out of college, but they were going to IU med school. And so, you know, he's saying something to do with them, like he had to pay a bunch of money for something and, you know, then his hospital, then him being sick and blah, blah, blah. Now that's where I start getting a little bit, now I'm going to get a little bit pushier, cause I know you weren't sick. And
right. But he doesn't know that you don't know. Right.
Right. And so I'm just kind of like, well, that's cool. Give me some money. So he tells me that he doesn't have the money, right? Because of all those things. But then the very next text is that if I have sex with him, then he would give me the money.
Oh.
So you don't have it, but you do have it to have sex with me. So at this point, like, I realize we've come to that wall, right?
Right.
And I have no problem. Like, I don't have to beat a dead horse or anything. I'm just like, look, motherfucker, we are so fucking done here. Like, you're a fucking liar, you know, and I just basically come out. I never say anything about the Jeep or the truck Norris. I never said anything about not paying him. I never said anything. I said exactly this, you know, we are done. And it was in every respect of the customer and friendship, you know, whatever relationship that we had. And that was that. I was done. I was out of it. I planned on, you know what I mean? Mail this motherfucker a check every month and he can fuck off.
Right.
But then he just, him and his drama ways, text me back something just all of a sudden out of nowhere. Well, you know, yeah, and you tried to steal that Jeep or that Explorer from me and, you know, blah, 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 and didn't pay me, and I'm going to sue you. And I'm like, I mean, and I'm just kind of like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, confused. Okay. Before I could ever do anything or think anything else, here comes the next message, because you know he likes to fire off those paragraphs. The next message is that he's going to have a sheriff deliver it to my daughter's school.
Wow.
First of all, that's not how that works. You don't get to tell them where to go. Second of all, you just brought my daughter into this out of nowhere for no reason. You're done. Hope you enjoyed those checks I got from you. So then he keeps telling me, then I get the message. I just ignore him because that's, you know, he loves that drama. And You know what I mean?
Sometimes silence is the best drama.
Oh, yeah. When I read that, I mean, done. I don't even have to, like, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I was probably getting ready to reply, and then when that came through, I was just like, and so we're done, and you'll never fucking get shit from me. And so then he proceeds to, like, keep texting me, telling me that he's going to take me to court and sue me, and he's going to do this and that, and da-da-da-da. And I finally just answered him one simple. I'm like, because I'm sure he would have loved to try to take text messages into court, and I don't know if they would work, and I don't care. But I just said, Tim, because he was, again, something about how I stole from him.
Right.
I didn't steal anything from you. You bought me that car. You wouldn't take my money. I don't owe you anything. If you would like to take me to court, please go ahead and do so. Mm-hmm. I will show up. Because that was just the thing. Oh, the other girl, she knew she had fucked him. She knew she was doing cocaine with him. He had no problem to bring those things up in court because he feels like he's above it. And so, she, had a guilty conscience. She knew, okay, I don't want this to come out. Well, guess what? I didn't have anything I felt bad about. I was like, please, go ahead. I'll see you then. Otherwise, fuck off. And, oh, God. I mean, he's still fucking ranting and raving up there at Kokomo telling people about how I took all that money from him. I stole so much on blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And yet,
so you still hear years later?
Oh yeah, he's still. I mean, he's still going to take me to court. He's suing me. I'm sure I mean, I haven't talked to him in a while, but I guarantee you, he's still telling that shit up there to anybody that will listen.
Right.
And that he would. I physically hurt. This was the greatest part. He was going around telling people that I took all of that from him and let him, do all this for me. Blah blah blah. And I never so much as even kissed him on the cheek. And my friend Tina, who had always, they had just known each other and been friends, if you will, how, he had gotten more affection out of her than he ever got out of me. Oh, okay. You're telling people I took your money and didn't do anything with you? That sucks. I'm like, at least come up with a lie. I'd have been like, yeah, she was sucking my dick upside down. And I mean, something. But, okay. You just slammed me by telling people that I didn't fuck you for money? Okay. Go ahead. Keep talking. Like, I don't know. It was yeah. That's Farmer Tim. He's up there just bitching to anyone who'll listen.
That was a crazy story. That was a crazy story.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The thing was that there were some of the craziest times of that with, like, the guy that shot himself and, like, his girlfriend and the whole scenario. I mean, how close do you have to imagine you just came to losing your life when you find out something that you're in the mix of goes down like that?
Right.
I mean, if that guy had any more sense about him, or maybe had not been so high on drugs that day or whatever, it wouldn't have been hard for him to get Amy and probably get over to Farmer Tim's house and round them all up together and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Suicide, homicide type shit. Or even just Amy alone. It's like, you guys all came real close to ending it right there.
Right.
It's crazy. So, and the drug epidemic. So,
well, that was a great story.
Well, thank you for listening. I think that's probably going to be this episode.
I know. Well, I think we should mention that you have nudes for sale.
I have nudes for sale. Please support the podcast and support my poor choices with money. So you can send it to me at PayPal. My phone number is not going to be what I give you. It's look it up under Maranda Barnett.
Just add you on Facebook.
Add me on Facebook. Yeah. But if you go to PayPal, when you go to send money, you can just put in Maranda Barnett. I'm pretty sure you'll get me. If you need to get my email, get me on Facebook. Slide up in this DM. Chris will show you how it's done.
Oh, she's selling nudes. She's offering blowjobs. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. So. If you send enough, you might get a pussy pic.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for that story. That was awesome.
Thank you. This has been Miranda's World. Find us on social media. We are libertarians.com. We are libertarians on Facebook. Chris Spangle. Meme King. Maranda Barnett. Snapchat me. It's Maranda. No, it's not. It's Princess Miranda 1219.
Yes.
Over and out.
Thank you for listening to the We're Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at We'reLibertarians.com.